Hey everybody, so this is the second in our lessons on color, and we're just kind of exploring things here. And this time we're going to talk about the favorite color that you picked out, the color that you have in your stash that maybe you have a lot of that color. I have a ton of teals and greens, kind of that aqua green shade. So I'm going to kind of go over a little bit with you today on a monochromatic color scheme. And when we talk about monochromatic, it means we're just using one color. One color doesn't have to be boring. As you can see here, these are all indigos. This is out of this month's Connecting Threads catalog, their company catalog. And you can see some of the things that they've done with a monochromatic color scheme that are very, very effective. And you can go through your quilt books and I'm sure you'll find a multitude of patterns where you can use a monochromatic color scheme. But I wanted to talk about the difference between tints and shades and tones. And hang on just a second. I'm gonna run around here and grab my little color wheel, so we can talk a little bit about that. Okay, so you remember the last video that we did, I talked about getting just a little book, a composition book, and putting your, you can print out your color wheel and put it in there. And then I talked about picking a color that you have a lot of in your stash. I have a lot of this aqua green. And we're going to talk today a little bit about tints, shades, and tones. A tint is when you add white to the color. So you can see this is lighter than this one. A shade is when you add black to the color. And a tone is when you add maybe gray to the color. So let's look a little bit on our color tool here. And I had aqua green. And on the color tool, it tells you tints, which would be this aqua green color plus white. So I brought out some samples of fabrics here, and we'll kind of go through these a little bit. So these are the same shade, this aqua green shade, but you can see that it's a tint. There's been a lot of white added to the color, and it reads in this pale shade area here. Same with this. You can see that in there. I hope you're not getting a glare off this. Same with this. Now this one's a little bit different. This one, we're going to go over here. You can see there's a little bit of gray in that. It reads actually more blue probably than teal, but kind of in here. And that would be considered a tone because they've added gray to it. Here's another fabric that we have. And we can work along there. I think we're probably looking in this area here. But again, there's a lot of blue in this. It's not really a true teal color. Let's see this, aqua green. This would have the white in it. When you get into this area here, you're looking at the pure color. So let's see if we can find something that, this has a multitude of tones in it. This is a Northcott fabric, and I love these. If you're gonna do a monochromatic quilt, you can add a lot of these type of fabrics that will give you a lot of excitement and movement in your quilt, but keeping all the tones the same, all the color range the same in there. So again, this has a multitude. You can see it's got the tints in there, it's got the pure color in there, it's got the shades in there where they've mixed some black in, but it's pretty clean. I don't see a lot of these. Oh, there is a little bit of that gray. Let's see if you can see that. There is a little bit of the gray color in there. So there are also tones in this fabric. That's a fun fabric for making a quilt. You could do a lot of things with that. You could create a lot of movement in your quilt with that. Okay, let's look. This is, I think, a little bit more green than aqua. Yep, so we'll leave that one out. Let's look at this one. This is tints again, because there's white in there. There's also, I would say, a little bit of gray in there. So it could be tonal, could be more tonal. Okay. Here we have a fabric that I think pretty much reads with this right here, and that would be a tone, the green and the gray. Here we go. This is got gray in it, and it reads down in this area, so it's also a tone. This is more in the pure color range. Might even be a shade with a little bit of black in it. But it leans more towards the pure color in here, I think. This is more green. We'll throw that one away. This one reads well. I think that would be a tone. Here's a laurel birch fabric. This is an older laurel birch, and it has a lot of those aqua green colors in there. It also has some of the shades. Okay. So you can go through all your fabrics, and you can find these have a lot of black mixed in with them. So they're going to be a tone. And here we go. This has a lot in there also. I think this leads more gray. It's got the gray and the green tint in there, so it reads on that end. This is an interesting one. The grunge fabrics I love. I don't know anybody that doesn't love them. And they have a lot of color possibilities with them as well. But those are a tone. You can see the gray in there. You can see it falls in this range here. And then this one again is got a lot of that the dark aqua green and gray mixed in to darken it. And it also has this jewel tone down here, which is aqua green and black. So we have those royal colors. I love that. Anyway, you can kind of play with this when you have a color tool, if you get a color tool, and each one of the cards is going to give you that same information on there. It's going to give you tints, pure colors, shades where they've mixed in black, and tones that have a blue, sapphire, and gray. This has cerulean blue and gray, and this has cerulean blue tint and gray. So it gives you a lot of options. If you're going to make a monochromatic quilt, you can take your color that you love or that you have a lot of. I know a lot of you have probably a lot of blues or a lot of reds. You can pull those out on one card, and that's a monochromatic scheme. Mono meaning one. So one color, and you would use that to create your quilt. And the more texture you can add in that, let's just pull a few pieces in here and kind of look at it. Different shades, okay, of what you're doing, different textures of what you're doing for different parts of your quilt. You can even add in some different colors here. This has got pretty movement in it. And don't be afraid to, audition these. You might not use all your bits and pieces, but the more you pull out, the more you'll have to select from, and and you can do light and dark applications, which will give you movement and excitement in your quilt while still staying in the monotone color range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some fabrics, and I'm going to create a block, and then I'll post that probably next week, and I will post the pattern for you tomorrow. And what I'd like you to do is it's just going to be a simple block. I'd like you to pick your fabrics out that you want to use and see what you can do as far as mixing up your colors in the monotone range, again just using the one color, and see what you can do as far as generating some excitement in your block. Okay, and then we'll come back next week and we'll look at what we've done. Let's get together again next week, and I'll probably do it on Thursday or Friday next week. And let's see what we can come up with as far as a block is concerned that expresses the color that we love, maybe uses up some of those fabrics that we have in abundance, and but staying in that monotone range. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Just leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them. After we do this block, we're going to go on to complementary color scheme, and we'll be using a lot of the same fabrics, so I want you to hang on to them and hang on to your favorite fabrics, and we'll see what we can do as far as generating a different color scheme. Now these blocks are going to be fairly small. If you don't want to stitch them together, you can just cut the fabrics and glue them onto the block and put it into your little workbook so that you have yourself you know, something to reference back to. I was talking about last week also about what does that color remind you of? And for me, this is one of my favorite colors, and it makes me think of water and trees and emeralds, royal things, jewels, comfort, soothing, oceans, rivers, and lakes. And I could go on and on with that, but that just kind of gives you the idea of maybe just writing a few words that are descriptive about your color that you love, and let's see where we go with that. Okay, let's just have fun with it. Okay, I will talk to you again next week, and we'll do some more. Thanks. Bye.